Brujo Ryan, let me articulate my words properly before I make this video because I'm angry. I'm going to post it to this account because this account has more reach and I feel like people need to see this. You will not go online and spread the narrative that I am a crazy, scorned woman. You will not go online and make videos lying about what happened and then expect me to not come back around with the truth. You will not call me crazy. You will not say any of that stuff and then expect me to keep my mouth shut. And while I'm here, you can be angry at me if you want. I completely understand. Mancy, I owe you an apology. I owe you a sincere apology. If you don't want to reach out, I completely understand. Oh man, I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm so mad. I will post my side of the story. Okay, so I am ready to share my story. Brujo Ryan has deleted his video from YouTube and then got a friend to relay the message to me that he had deleted it and he won't talk about it again and he just doesn't want to talk to me again. I say screw that, because the reason why he did that was obviously to protect his reputation. It has nothing to do with my emotions. It's to do with the fact that he's scared. In short, Brujo Ryan made a YouTube video making me out to be a crazy, manipulative, crazy psychopath who tried to trick him into a relationship and was absolutely insane, so he had to get rid of me. He also called me a liar and blamed me for stealing his community away from him through manipulation. He then used the excuse that it was to do with the fact that we were in a friends with benefits type friendship, and I used that to manipulate people. Got nothing to do with that, got nothing to do with age, got nothing to do with consent, anything like that. It's to do with the way that he manipulated me. In short, the reality of the situation is that this guy used me for financial and sexual gratification. I could use other words to describe this type of thing, however, I can't post them on TikTok. He was then emotionally obtrusive towards me, and then when I'd had enough, he discarded me when I confronted him about his behaviour, and he essentially removed me from a community that has been my support system for the past 2.5 years because, you know, I have disabilities and I am a pretty isolated person. And he knew this, and he knew that I was having a difficult time, and turns out he was planning this discard for months and painting me out to be some crazy woman trying to trap him into a relationship. So yeah, today I'm ready to post my story and I'm ready to post the receipts. About a week ago when all this happened, I was still so brainwashed I probably would have felt guilty because I know he's scared. However, the way that he's feeling has nothing to do with me and what he's done to me. It's to do with himself and how he looks and what it's going to do to him. So yeah, I will be back on here posting. Have a nice day. Okay, this video is a timeline of events of everything that happened between me and Brujo Ryan, Emilana. I want to start by saying that when me and Ryan first became friends, he was a very, very good friend. In fact, he was an amazing friend up until the first point that I went to visit him. I was friends with him when my relationship with my ex-partner collapsed. He was supporting me when I moved away from that and when I went down to my sister's to stay in a caravan, and then when I went to move in with my mum. If I foresaw the way that things were going to go, I would have... if I could go back in time, I would go and shake myself and tell myself not to go to that airport in September. So me and Ryan became friends very early in 2023. He gave me a spiritual reading. I used to jump up on his live panels on TikTok, and I really liked his content. So when he created his mentorship program, he invited me in. We became very good friends, even to the point where he asked me to help him write his book in exchange for free mentorship, and also he bought me a computer because he couldn't afford to pay me properly for helping with his book. However, he did say he would give me 20%, which I never got. Okay, so around the time that I was helping with this book, I was arranging to go to the States to see my other friend in Florida, who later on I decided I couldn't see because of her personal circumstances. I didn't feel safe. So I was originally going to stay with him for a week, and yeah, that didn't end up happening, and so he asked me to come for the full month. When I got there, I was greeted by him, and also, like, it was super wonderful. It was super exciting. When I meted them, I was greeted, lots of hugs. First 7 days there was great, and then
Name censor.
I told him the first week that I was there that I had feelings for him. However, he's made a video where he's made out that I waited until the day before I went home, which was rubbish. It was actually the second time that we went to the NUDIST resort, so it's like a week and a half after I got there. And he still initiated that kind of relationship with me. Even though he did reiterate we were never going to get into a romantic relationship, I was completely okay with that. And no, this has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with not being able to consent. It's the power dynamic. So he made it very clear that I'd have to pay for my stay there. So I think the first time I went there, I gave him $700. And then I paid for days out, fuel, groceries. It was a lot of money. He talks about how he'd taken me all around the States, but I was the one that paid for that. So
Censoring names.
When I got there, he actually told me that when he was in Africa, he was pretty much told that he has to marry me by his spirits. He said that he needed to confirm that with divination, but he was pretty sure that that's what was going to happen. He knew that I really wanted to get to the United States. I'm having a lot of issues in this country. This country's going horrifically. I understand that you guys have really bad problems as well, but my big issue is that I'm isolated. So he made this big grand gesture that he was going to help me get into the United States no matter what it took. We could fake a relationship, put the status up on Facebook. He could marry me, or he could marry me through his religious organisation, or it was a lot. He was coming up with all these different ideas the whole time I was there. And every time I would go, oh, I don't really think this is realistic. You need to stop doing that. You need to stop doing that. I'm going to do this for you. Blah, blah, blah. Obviously, he's manic. And then he never told me what the Babalao said when he went to him to ask if I was the one that he was supposed to marry. But he did say right at the end of the trip, I can't help you. I don't know what you want me to do, but I can't help you. You're going to have to find someone else to help you. Blah, blah, like. And then I just got all of this word spew, which is really weird. So I went home super duper excited about our trip. And then I also wasn't doing too well when I got back mentally, because I was living with my Jehovah's Witness parents. Things weren't going great, and he became very cold towards me. And at this point, he'd already asked me to book to come back in January. So I went from being his favourite person in the world, or one of his favourite people in the world, which he told me I was, by the way, to him not really reaching out, not contacting me. And then when we do have conversations, it just somehow turns to arguments. In December, he tells me basically if I can, because he already told me that I'd have to pay the second time I went to the States as well, because he can't afford to have me. He can't work, blah, blah, which he did work, by the way, and I have receipts for that. So he told me that I needed to give him $1,000. So he said over a message, can I have the $1,000 that you were going to give me now, so that I can buy a laptop, because I need a computer, and it's $600. For some reason he wanted the $1,000, but it's whatever. I said that is okay. However, I'm going to need to be really careful when I'm spending in January, because I'm saving up to move out of my mum's. And he told me that that is fine. He won't expect me to pay anything when I come over to see him. He's not worried about finances. So I was like, okay, cool. And I transferred in the $1,000, which I do have all these receipts, by the way, which I'll post in the next video that I make. And then on December the 25th, it's Christmas Day, and we're all in a group call on Discord, and this guy just completely blows up at me to the extent that I'm a crying mess, because I don't want to help myself. I don't want to move out my mum's. I'm being lazy. I'm not doing anything to help myself. I'm lying about the way that we live in the UK. Like, I don't even know. Like, it was just so ridiculous. And the proportion in which he blew up at me was so bad that I had people reach out to me and tell me, what on earth was that about? Like, the way that he just blew up at you wasn't okay. So I had a conversation with a friend who told me that, well, I said that when I go there in January, I want to have a conversation with Ryan about the way that he's talking to me and the way that he's treating me and how it's not okay. And so I went to the States in January. Everything was fine for the first couple of days I was there, which he'll make out it wasn't. And then I initiated this conversation with him. We brought it up once in public. He really seemed dismissive in public, obviously because we're in public and he doesn't want to be embarrassed. And by the way, when I get there in January, he's so cold towards me and so different, I literally can't work out what's going on. So I bring the conversation up another day, and then he tells me that if I want to stay there, I'm going to have to pay him more money because he can't afford to have me there and not work. And I said, you can work. And then I said, what happened to the $1,000 that I gave you for the laptop? Because that was supposed to be my money for me staying here. And that is when he blew up and absolutely lost his mind at me. How dare you tell me how to spend my money? How, at the point that you give me that money and the money's in my hands, then it's my money. You better book a flight right home, bitch. The worst first mistake you made is thinking that I'm a friend that can be there for you when you're going through a hard time, and all of this stuff. And I'm literally just crying on the floor because I cannot deal with conflict. I can't deal with you like this. I can't deal with you like this. I'm going in the other room to work. And he's literally screaming at me for about half an hour and telling me to go home. So I go out for a walk to the shop. I come back and he says, are you going home? I say, I will if you want me to. That's all my savings gone if I go home. That's like $2,000 on plane tickets because they were last minute. And he said, no, I don't want you to go home, but the moment you make me feel uncomfortable in my home again, you'll have to go home. So things are on edge for a few days. I literally write an apology letter to him and make him cookies. He doesn't read the apology letter and he doesn't eat the cookies because apparently he doesn't like lemons. And then a few days later, he comes to me again about finances. I'm going to have to make a part 2 to this video. This is part 1. Okay, so this is part 2. So Ryan comes to me again to have a conversation about finances, and he says to me, so how much money have you brought with you? I didn't tell him how much money I had. It wasn't a huge amount, also wasn't a tiny amount. Like, I save money to see my friends because I'm disabled. I have disabilities, I'm unwell, and, you know, I'm not going to justify having savings. I said, well, I don't know, like, because before I come here, he was saying all this stuff like we were going to North Carolina. That was a plan at one point, and then he said, we can't afford to do that, but he was going to take me to New York or whatever. I said I bought enough because I bought enough because I, you know, wanted to go on some trips and stuff, which I was going to pay for fuel and whatever, because that was the original plan. He said, oh no, we can't do that. You're going to have to give me money to help me out because I can't afford to have you here. And we can't afford to go on trips. I'm going to have to work. I said, okay, no worries. How much do you need? He says, how much can you give me? I say, I don't know. It depends on what you need. What is it you need? So we're back and forth for a bit. And then he says that he... 2 seconds again. He says he needs $600 for his car payment, and he says that he needs $140 something so that he can pay for his friend
Censoring name.
electricity bill. He also says that I need to buy my own groceries, put fuel in the car, same as last time. And I'm confused because, you know, I've already given him the $1,000 that I was going to give him to stay. I mean, and I was going to pay for my groceries and stuff anyway. I sort of already knew that was happening. I'd already spent hundreds of dollars on groceries at that point, even though we were only like a few days into the trip, because he does this thing where he has to Do you know what? I'm not going to do that because that's not the point of this video. So I gave him, I think it was like $745 for his friend's electric payment and for his car payment for the month. I then said that I would give him the money for his phone payment later on. He said he was going to have to take clients to work while I was there, so I'd have to go out and do my own thing. Not a problem. However, I don't understand why now he's saying that both times I was there he babysat me and couldn't do any work because he made $250 a time. Or around that. Anywhere from like $150 to $250 depending on how much time they booked. So all of a sudden he's in the best mood with me again. Everything is completely fine and wonderful and he's happy and everything's fantastic. And, you know, he initiates me sleeping in the same bed as him. And he initiates the other kind of stuff again, you know, like friends with benefits type stuff. But this time it was like a billion times more intense than the first time I went there. So yes, I can be a bit tearful at times. I was going through a difficult time with my mental health at the time, and yes, maybe I did cry a bit too much the second time I went there. However, I really did try hard. I just didn't know that in the background he was messaging these people saying all this awful stuff about me, trying to make me out to be some type of crazy person. So everything's fine from that point. I'm going out while he works. I'm like walking somewhere or whatever, or sitting in Dunkin' Donuts for a couple of hours while he gets his money, completely fine. I'm paying for fuel, I'm paying for groceries. You know, we can't really afford to go anywhere, but I think we went on a one-day trip, and also he'd taken me to Golden Corrals a couple of times. Yeah. Everything's just going just great, and I have no idea that behind the scenes, this whole narrative is being made, and I'm like completely blindsided. So last day there, have a really good morning. We go out to eat. I buy his food. He takes me to Cinnabon. I buy a Cinnabon. And then we get back, and for the afternoon we did stuff. I can't say it on here. You know I can't. I don't want to get my video removed. But on the way back to the airport, he tells me that I can come back in September. He's super happy. We've had like the best afternoon. It was just super amazing. Oh, you're going to come back in September, and even if you're in your own place, even if you're not in your own place yet, you're still going to come back in September because everyone needs a break, but I want you to try and get in your own place and all this stuff. Not knowing that he's already been messaging several people saying that he's never going to have me back there again. And yes, I did tell him that I would never say the type of relationship that I had, because at the time I had no idea who he was as a person, and also because he told me to never tell anyone what kind of relationship. He made me swear to never tell anyone what kind of relationship we had. So I get on this flight back home all excited, thinking that things were going to go back to normal, and that I was going to come to see him in September. I was going to go back, I was going to get my own place, and then, you know, I'd save up again, go and see my friend, it would be a great time, whatever. So when I first got back, yes, he was nice to me for a while. I got into this place, he was super excited for me, very congratulative, told me he was proud of me. We talked a few times on the phone. He did message me a few times to ask me how I was doing, checking up on me, which was really sweet. And he also admitted that he was insensitive and he understands now, and he was going to work on it. So the day before I moved into my flat, I posted a TikTok video in an Instagram group, and he messages me, tells me I've destroyed his day, I'm a horrible person, I'm apologising profusely, like crying on my bed, and he's telling me that I don't care about him and I don't care about other people and I sabotage my relationships, and things are just like going back to the way that they were. And he literally tells me to shut up. He tells me to shut up, and what part of shut up don't I understand when I'm sat there apologising profusely for posting a TikTok video in an Instagram group. I'm going to show you some receipts. Do you want to know? I said that the next videos were going to be about that, so I'll keep it to the way it is at the moment. And then slowly again our conversations start going to, I'm not ever giving you advice because you don't take my advice, because I didn't take his advice once because it was incorrect. He told me, well, back to this point where over Christmas he basically screamed at me. Apparently that was me having a negative reaction to that, was me not taking his advice. So he always does this thing where he goes, you never take my advice, I'm never giving you advice again, I'm not talking to you about your issues, whatever. And every single conversation starts to get that way again. Until I've had enough at this point. I don't like the way he's treating me. He's being verbally abusive towards me. He's just being horrible. And then one day we're in a group chat with his friend and he says, oh, you can't come till January now because the state of the country is really bad. And all this stuff. And he can't afford to have me back because he's in so much debt, whatever. Meanwhile, he is behind the scenes messaging people, and I have receipts for this, which I've been told I can use, by the way. He's messaging people, telling them not to let me come to visit them in the United States because I'm emotionally unstable, and just to be wary around me altogether. He is literally messaging people, telling them that I'm like his redhead ex. And then one day he sends me to his friend to get a reading. He told me to tell him what happens during that reading. I tell him. He decides he's setting all these boundaries with me, and that's the icing on the cake, and I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to make a part 3, but the part 3 is going to be a very quick one. And then after that I will post my receipts. Okay, so all of our conversations have gone cold again at this point. He's acting weirdly towards me. I was like, I feel like I'm going crazy again. Am I literally just going crazy? What's going on? Like, what have I done wrong? And this is like a thing throughout our friendship which keeps happening. I keep thinking that I'm going insane. I'm realising now that I'm talking about this, there's a lot of stuff that I've left out. So yeah, he tells me to get a reading from his friend because, I don't take his advice, I never listen to him, we're too entangled, whatever. But he says to tell me how the reading went. So, had the reading with his friend FIFA, who, by the way, is absolutely amazing at divination. Best divination I've ever had. And then I send him a couple voice messages telling him what happens during the divination. I just said what happened during the divination, and then he sends me all these messages like he usually does, going on his thing. He can't be my therapist. I need to get a therapist, not talk to him about that stuff. He can't talk to me about my issues. He's got enough stuff going on. He's mentally ill and he doesn't have time for my stuff. All of that. He said he's setting boundaries, and then that sort of triggered something in my head because he always does this thing where he tells me that he's setting boundaries, but then he's okay to talk to me however the heck he wants. I typed out a message to him like 15 times after that, and I just couldn't. I was like, whatever I send him, he's going to flip out on, because every time I send him a message, he just, whatever I say, there's something wrong with it. So I leave the Discord group that were in his church, his non-profit, which was a mentorship program and is going in a very culty direction. I would love to talk about that more because there's more stuff to this, like legal stuff. However, that isn't my information to share. I will just say be very, very careful joining that group. Now I know what I know, and don't get entangled in that stuff in case things come down on him legally. So he knows that this group is my only community. These are my only friends. That sounds sad, but I'm quite isolated. I don't really have any friends. And I use that community because they are my friends and I've been there for years. So I thought that me leaving would make him think, oh shit, she's really upset. But no, he said, why did you leave? You abandoned your responsibilities in the server. you can't leave. So I sent him this long paragraph of why I left, and I told him to scroll up the chat and that I'd gone back to square one again, and I didn't like how I was being treated. I didn't like being scapegoated, because it seems that whenever he's having issues, I'm the one that gets the brunt of that. He just said, okay, I'm sorry, talk to you later. So there's me thinking that we're going to have a conversation later on. I'm patient. I'm upset. But I wait till the next day, and then he sends me a message at night telling me that basically I've abandoned him, the server, he's in my prayers. No, I'm in his prayers. So I sent him this long paragraph telling him how I feel, and I was honest about it. I could post those, and then he said, I'm blocking you now. At this point, I freak out. He said I tried to call him on Messenger several times, and he said he doesn't want to talk right now, which isn't true. Isn't true at all. However, I did try and call him a couple times on Discord. He ignored me. I tried to call him a couple times on Facebook. He ignored me and told me to leave him alone, and then blocked me because I was in tears at this point. I was like, I've just lost my best friend in the whole entire world. I've lost my entire community. What do I do? So I reach out to his friend Jessica because he's very close to his friends. And I was like, I'm so confused at this point. I'm like, she's the only one who is gonna be able to get to him. Like, I want to have a conversation with him. I don't know what's happening. I'm like on the phone to her crying. I had a psychotic episode and posted a disturbing TikTok video, which I didn't mean to post because I just couldn't. I'd be mentally ill anyway. I went into an episode of psychosis, which thankfully was very brief. And my other friend messaged me,
censoring name,
and was really concerned.
Censoring name.
I ended up telling her what happened. I didn't want to tell her what happened because I promised I wouldn't say anything. I was really scared to say what had happened. It taken me a while for me to get to it. And I did. And I told the truth the same way as I've told it now. She was disgusted, so she decided to leave Ryan's server.
I'm censoring these people's names.
So they spoke together and they both decided to leave. A bunch of other people decided to leave because they didn't like the way it was going anyway. And yeah, it was partly because of me, because I was treated horribly and I shouldn't have been treated like that. And one of the original members, I've been there since the beginning, so people aren't going to react well to me being treated badly. Because for some reason, and this is a pattern in our relationship, this guy can never see that he's in the wrong. It's always everyone else around him. It's always me that's in the wrong, no matter what I do, or even when I do make mistakes, when I profusely apologise. I am the biggest issue in his life for some reason. And at this point, no one knows about the kind of relationship that we had, so I do sort of seem crazy, so I had to include all of it for it to make sense, because he kept me silent because he knew that if I didn't, he was planning to discard me for a long time, and I know because I have plenty of evidence from other people, but he knew that if they knew that element of the relationship, I wouldn't seem as crazy. So yeah, that's my part 3. I'm now going to make a video and post receipts. I'm also going to break down the YouTube video that he made with receipts. I've probably missed out stuff. Hopefully by the time I break down the YouTube video, it'll make more sense. I also want to say that I've realised that I've missed certain elements of this, like for example, how I can't talk in the server when I'm having a bad day, because he pretty much is telling me that I'm trauma dumping. He's having a go at me for stuff I'm saying in the server. He's literally, if I'm having a good day, he's getting annoyed. If I'm having a bad day, he's getting annoyed. I also missed the part where he cussed me out for talking to my mum when I was at his place. However, I don't really think any of this matters. I think I've got the main issues across. Okay, I am springy today. This video is all about the screenshots. Yay! I never thought in a million years that I would be doing this. Just thought I'd tell you. I've also spent ages just trying to trim Ryan's video on YouTube. Just gonna say now, I'm not going to be using that because I am so bad at technology. However, you are welcome to go and watch his video for more clarification, but I will explain why I'm using those screenshots. So the first point I'm going to make is about finances. He decided to tell the world that apparently I offered to pay him to stay there, which wasn't true. He said when I got there that I had to pay him, and I knew that I'd have to pay him the second time. First time I went there, I paid $700. I did think it was $1,000. Second time I went there, I paid $1,000, and plus all the other stuff that I'm going to say in a minute. So he makes a big statement about how he'd taken me all around New England, and I gave him that money because he was too poor to work. I paid for every one of those trips. I paid for all the groceries. I paid for the fuel, the food, seeing shit, and I'm going to post those screenshots. So this is groceries and stuff. Where we've gone out to eat, more groceries. When we went to Salem, Massachusetts. When we went to New York. When we went to Providence. More groceries and stuff. And by the way, I have more screenshots if you guys want to see them. It's just a lot. So that's for the trip in September. I'll get to the one in January in a bit. Okay, so this screenshot is the $700 I spent in September. And this screenshot is the $1,000 that was supposed to be for me to stay there, but went on a computer, which would have been fine until he asked me for more money, which I'll also get to in a bit. Second financial point, and I know it's not that important, he just said it saying it to be petty, and it's not true, is that I never put a penny towards his mentorship program. I helped him write a book, which he has listed me as an editor for. I will post proof for that. So, there is my name right there. He did not pay me anything for this book, although he said he was going to give me 20%. He did buy me a computer, and he offered to give me free membership from that point on because, because I helped him write a book, which, by the way, I didn't just edit. He won't give me credit, but majority of that stuff in Herb's A to E is my shit, by the way. And I have a sister who can back me up on that because she was there when I was writing it. Oh, and would you look at this? It's evidence that before that point, I did pay for my mentorship at points. Oh, look. Surprise, surprise. Oh, that's his workshop. Okay, so here is the evidence that in December that he sent me, that he said that when I go there in January, I wouldn't have to give him any more money because I gave him the $1,000 that I was going to use to stay there for a laptop. Okay, everything will be okay. I just can't overspend anything in January. I already stand where you're at financially. I'm not going to ask you for anything else. You did what you said you were going to do and everything is just fine. I'm not super worried right now. And that was the $1,000 that I was supposed to be spending to stay there, which went on his computer. Which is where the big argument that we had happened, which he made me out to be crazy and absolutely loopy in his house for the whole time I was there. Oh my gosh. I'm going to get to that in a bit. That's where that argument came from, because he asked me for more money and I said I gave you the $1,000 for me to stay here and you spent it on a laptop, which I said in my previous evidence video. So here is the evidence that I gave him a further $600 for his car payment in January when I was there. So in there, the Duke Energy is the $146 that I gave him for his friend's utility bill. And then here again is all sorts of groceries and fuel and everything else I paid for while I was there, which was pretty much everything. Example of groceries, more groceries, me paying for food out, more groceries. I mean, it just keeps going, to be honest. Final financial point that I'm going to make is that he said in the video that he could not work while I was there, like both times, and that he was practically like a babysitter. He did work, and I have evidence for that because every time he went out to work, I had to go for a walk or sit in Dunkin' Donuts or basically go in the freezing cold in Massachusetts in the snow with my chronic illnesses for 2 hours or more. And just, I don't drive. Anyway, here's the evidence. Okay, so that's one where he's asking me to leave because he's about to have a client. That's one where the guy just left. That's me saying that I'm absolutely freezing cold to the bone, so he says he'll come and collect me after I've walked all the way into the town of Northampton in the snow. and he just says it's good for my immune system. It's whatever. Okay, coast is clear. I'm at Duncan on King Street. He's gone. I moved his ass right out. Okay, I'm at Walmart, gonna use the ATM. And that's to pay him the money back for the food that I bought for both of us and for his fuel, by the way. Okay, so now that's done. Now on to the second part of the video, which is my alleged behaviour the second time that I was at his home. So I just want to start this by saying that this guy was so scared of me the whole time that he was there that I was sleeping in the same bed as him, having days out with him, buying all of his stuff, cooking for him the entire time that I was there, and we were having friends with benefits stuff. I can't say it. Yeah. He was so scared of me that when I was on the way back, I told him that I can't wait to see him again after he told me I was coming back in September. He told me he loves me, and obviously I know that's in a friend way. And this is me being so abusive towards him. Yep, super terrified. Not going to explain that any further. Gonna cover that up with an emoji because none of you want to see that. Yeah, no, this dude, I was just super psycho the whole time I was there, obviously. So psycho, I kept cooking all this shit. More stuff I've cooked for him. Oh yeah, and these are the cookies that I baked him to apologise for the fact that he was completely and mentally abusive towards me, which he didn't eat because apparently he doesn't like lemons. And pause to read, that's the apology letter that I made for him the next day. Which was literally a few days after I got there, by the way, because that's as long as it lasted. I've already explained that argument, which, to be honest, I shouldn't have been apologising for because he was abusive towards me. So yeah, pause to read that. I've got nothing to hide. And notice how I'm actually apologising for how I handled my emotions, not for the actual situation. Because guess what? I didn't fucking do anything. He got mad at me because I was crying. And because he was screaming at me and I was on the floor crying. So I want to put a pretty clear trigger warning for the next part. This is going to be his behaviour towards me when I got home. And I just want to say, yes, when I first got back to the UK, he was nice to me and we actually had a conversation and he apologised to me and said that he wasn't sensitive about my situation, so he just wasn't going to talk to me about it again. And can I just say, no, I did not harass him. I was not trying to pursue him. I reached out to him every now and then, trying to contact him as a friend, asking him how he's doing, how's his day been, that type of stuff. And when it wasn't about that, I was genuinely just reaching out. I mean, I didn't really reach out loads. We had quite a bit of conversation when I got my flat because he was happy for me. Okay, so trigger warning, here's an example of one of our arguments, and the context behind this is because I posted TikTok in an Instagram group. Shock horror, how horrible of me. Let me read this for you. You ruined my beeping mood this morning. I opened up Instagram because I wanted to post funny stuff and then I see a TikTok link. Why did you do that? Do you not realise how much I hate that app and the reason why I left that app, so I never have to see it again? Okay, that's all I have to say. Now I'm in a foul mood. Pause to read. This is me apologising profusely and crying. I'll get over it, just be mindful about how your actions affect others around you. I thought it'd be left at that. Wasn't happy that I was told that I'm not mindful. Here's me apologising more. You need to ask yourself a question whether or not you self-sabotage your relationships. See, I don't want to engage with you because I don't know if you're just trying to get attention. I'm going to have to make a part 2. You know for a fact I hate that app. I left that app. There's me saying I apologise more, and then that's him telling me to shut up. And what part of shut up don't I understand? I'm only going to use one example because it's super triggering, but I just wanted to show you that is Ryan's true colours. I'm going to have to make a second part. Second part's going to be shorter. Okay. Sorry there's so many parts. There's a lot of stuff to uncover. Okay, part 2 of the screenshots. I'm just going to get on with it because I ain't screwing around. Let's start with a hard hitter. This guy was so terrified of my behaviour when I went to stay with him and he hid from me. And, he had to try and stop me from going crazy. You know, he did that so much that he had to make me take a pregnancy test because he was scared that, you know, I was pregnant with this kid. Yeah. He says he wore a condom. No. Well, he did once. Could you imagine? Thank goodness. Thank the universe. So I'd shown you an example of how he was speaking to me. He was speaking to me like that after I got back in September. He was speaking to me like that pretty much for the final few weeks until he discarded me, probably for about a month. Here's another example of him calling me an attention seeker, which was back in October. This is a common theme because he thought he was trying to help me find my own place when really he was just not helping at all, has no idea of the situation, and then when I wouldn't take his advice, was completely flipping out on me and calling me an attention seeker to the point where I had a complete breakdown. So next, I'm going to show an example of how he was behind the scenes trying to make me out to be crazy. I have been given permission by my friend Finn to use this screenshot. Be careful dealing with Lauren. If she starts contacting you and talking about coming to visit you, be wary. She's not stable. I love her, but don't get wrapped up in a drama about coming to the US. And be careful in general. Please keep that between us. I have more examples, however, I have not been given permission to use those screenshots. This is just one example of the way that he was talking about me in the background throughout our friendship. Trying to twist my friends and the people that I care and love most. That I'm a crazy, psychotic woman and that he's scared of me. He said that I'm like Jennifer. He said that I'm like his redhead ex. He said all sorts of stuff. So this is how he responded to me when I was concerned because one of my ex-partner's friends joined Ryan's server. I made a mistake and said hello to him, pretty much, because I didn't know what to do, because I'm traumatized by my ex. And I went, hey, I know, you know my ex, which was obviously a mistake. But when I reached out to him, he told me he couldn't get rid of him. And then, because I made that comment, you know, I got all that because obviously that's more important than his friend because he's a paying customer. Okay, so this is how the discard happened. So basically, I wanted a reading because I've just moved into a new place. That's something that he offers his mentees and his friends. I would have been willing to pay for it, whatever. He told me he's not going to help me because, you know, we're too entangled and he doesn't want to give me advice because apparently I never take it. He gave me all that spew as well. He then went off on all this spew about like my financial stuff, which I've never complained to him about. This is a theme with him that he will literally tell me that I can't spend my money. When I moved in here, he was telling me to not spend my money on stuff and to just have a mattress on my floor. So that's him cussing me out because I made a friend called Ellis and I asked him if he'd like to go to Amsterdam with me. Yeah, so basically the whole tone of the reading is that there's legal stuff going on with my brother and also, you know, I've just moved in here and that's what the reading was going to be about, and this is the spew that I got. This is him saying that he doesn't want to help me because I don't take his... it's just constant. He constantly goes around the same thing. So then he sends me to his friend for a reading instead, who's also in the server, or was in the server, and he tells me to tell him what happens. So I did. I sent him a voice message. He told me to be careful and take everything that what his friend says with a pinch of salt, you know, what he's like, you know, that stuff. I then send him more voice messages discussing further what was said in the reading. There was a lot of concern for my physical health. lots of different stuff. I'm not going to go into it, but I was literally just repeating what was said in the reading. And then that's when he got on a spew about how he's setting boundaries with me and he doesn't want to be in my drama and he's got his own problems going on, and basically told me off for sending him those voice messages. So I said, I'm sorry. I was saying about the reading because you told me to tell you about it. I'm not trying to make it about my mental health or anything. And then that's when I get these voice messages like, dude, are you not understanding what he's saying? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, that type of thing. Like, dude, what the fuck? Like, ugh. And I'm like, I literally haven't done anything. So at this point, I've just had enough. And yes, I tried to type out a message like 10 times. Couldn't. I was like, no matter how I word this, he's just going to have a go at me, because that's a theme. I feel like I can't talk to him. I can't talk to people in the server, because if I do that, I'm trauma dumping. He's irritated at me if I'm happy. He's irritated at me if I'm sad. He's irritated at me if I send him a message. I also know this is true because of stuff that he said to people behind the scenes. So I leave his group because I'm hoping that that's going to make him realise, out of everything, how much he's upsetting me, because no matter what I say, he doesn't understand and he just gets mad about what I say. So he's like, why did you leave the server? So I typed out the message about 10 times and this is what I said. So I basically explained to him what the issue was. I told him I'm walking on eggshells. I told him I'm struggling with my mental health. He already knew that. And I feel like I can't even talk to my friends in the server about it because all of this shit. He's pushing me away. I don't know. You can just pause to read this. And then he said, I'm sorry, I'll talk to you later. So I thought, okay, maybe we're going to have a conversation about it. But nope. He tells me I've abandoned him and his friends. And that I'm going to be in his prayers. So this is me trying again to tell him how he's making me feel, and you can pause this. Pause to read. And then instead of, talking to me about it, he just blocks me. So of course, yes, I was extremely upset. And he said I tried to call him on WhatsApp, which is why he blocked me. And then apparently he said, I don't have time to talk to you right now. That's not true. The last time I had a conversation with Ryan over the phone was on the 11th of February. And I got back from the States on the 5th of February. This is me then trying to reach out to him on Messenger. I told him to please not abandon me. Being in the States, the first time I went there, those were the best memories I had, and I didn't want to lose my friendship. I felt like I was losing my group, my only people, because I'm isolated, and my best friend. And then I tried to contact him on Discord. I tried to call him on Discord. And then I was blocked on there as well. So yeah, that's the rundown of the screenshots, is what it is.